RPAC do in 2015? Now, RPAC is the political action committee right here. So when you pay your dues, it's going to all of these places. It gets divvied up. And RPAC did a number of things. The taxation that Jocelyn was just talking about is the number one item that they did in 2015, making sure that you and your property owners could still take tax deductions on that mortgage interest. And they also worked on mortgage debt forgiveness too for those homeowners that were defaulting. Changes to the FHA and condo rules. This is going to be huge moving forward in 2016. Huge. So what was happening in the FHA condos is that when they first rolled out the rules, gosh, has it been 7 years or so when they did the reform, Kathy? Gosh, it's been a while. 6, 7 years. Yeah. And it's continued, throughout 2015. But basically what they did is they raised nationally across the U.S., they went ahead and raised the requirements for a condo association and what it had to have both in bank reserves and owner occupants and repairs and all sorts of things for that condo association before that condo association could go ahead and offer FHA financing. So you guys may be doing this. I know we do it a ton. Before we list a property, we have to call the homeowners association and find out if they still are able to offer FHA financing, right? Because some of them still don't have it back. Well, the thing is that some of these older associations, the cost for bringing their association up to par was so egregious that they just simply didn't do it. And so we have so many of them out there that are just cash or conventional. And it really hurt our first-time home buyers because those are the people who are buying condos. That's your lower end, first time getting into a property, lower down payment type of buyers. And so their selection was greatly reduced. So there was a revision made to that they limit the cost to $3,000, between $1,500 to $3,000 as a burden to the homeowner association versus the egregious amounts that they used to be, which is great. And they're also adjusting the ratios as well going into 2016. So it's going to be easier to finance those properties FHA moving forward, which is a good change for everybody. Great change for your sellers, great change for your buyers because they're going to have more inventory that they're going to be able to shop for. And also changes to the insurance regulations, which again is bottom line for your homeowners associations on what they have to carry as far as minimums and that sort of thing. 2015 goals, those are the ratios. They're also now allowing for mixed use development. So in a lot of urban areas across the nation, you've got your housing or condos above retail spaces, right? So those used to not be able to be FHA financed either. And so that's now been added. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that here in Anchorage, as a matter of fact, because Cook Inlet Housing went to the Muni and did a whole bunch of work to be able to do that type of building here in Anchorage. And you're going to be seeing it probably first you're going to be seeing it for sure out on Muldoon because they've already started putting up the structures out there on Muldoon and DeBar. In Clearwater Creek area over there. You'll see these big buildings coming up. But they're also going to be starting it down here in Spenard. They've started acquiring almost all of that property there, the church and all sorts of stuff that we've been working on acquiring over there to do more a walking community with shops and coffee places and stuff down and housing above. So, as we're getting tighter on our land, new types of housing is coming in. And it's not just here, it's in a lot of cities. So that was really good. The TILA and RESPA integrated disclosure board of Realtor, or not the board, but the National Association of Realtors worked on that. And they were actually the ones who were instrumental in getting that delayed to October 3rd rollout instead of August 31st so that everybody could have enough time to get their ducks in a row to be able to do it because it was too fast. prevented housing tax incentives and reform like the 1031 exchange, the mortgage deduction, property tax deduction. 2015 legislative and regulatory year in review. So the first one, and I didn't really quite understand this until I had it explained to me, was the network neutrality rules, which ensure that large technology companies will not be able to shut out smaller innovators and their customers from internet access with predatory pricing. So I was like, just did not quite understand exactly what that meant. What that means is that companies like Zillow and Trulia and whatnot cannot go ahead and buy their way to the top of the searches in internet. So if you've got listings at Jack White Real Estate, they can't, Zillow and them can't go ahead and post up here in the search engines and be always at the top, and we never have our stuff up there. So there's no way for them to do that. So we worked really hard nationally. They worked really hard on making sure that didn't happen, because those places have a lot of money, and we're kind of a mom and pop shop. You know, I mean, we're a big mom and pop shop for Anchorage, but we're a mom and pop shop, and we needed our rights protected to be able to do business. So that was
called a monopoly.
It would, and that's what was happening. And they were basically they were trying to take over MLSs and all sorts, so that you didn't have to deal with an MLS anymore, and people would come to them and then write contracts and basically shut us all out of the entire process. And legislation on Capitol Hill said, nope, you cannot do that. You cannot have that kind of a monopoly. So that was a huge accomplishment this past year. Also, the EPA proposed waters of the United States. Has anybody heard about this? I know you have. Anybody heard about this? Ava Loken in the Eagle River office has been dealing with this for about 10 years as well on a property. So a property that she helped somebody buy in the 90s, 6-acre property. People decided they finally, 10 years ago, wanted to develop it. Went to the municipality, because Eagle River is part of the municipality of Anchorage, had to go and get a permit. And Eagle River said, you got to go to Anchorage. Anchorage said, we can't approve this. You got to go to the Corps of Engineers. Corps of Engineers said, oh, well, we need this test and this report and soils and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, we have the soil reports. It says it was buildable from when we purchased it. And this was just, about 10 years ago. But they bought it in the 90s. So 10 years ago, they started getting the runaround. They spent over $100,000 on tests and reports and filing to try to be able to develop this parcel, because it backed to a body of water. We're never able to do it. And so what ended up happening is the parcel got deemed non-buildable. Still doesn't have a true definition. They finally sold it, Ava told me this morning, for I think $95,000. Property that was purchased as $120,000 in 95, 6 acres, which would be worth a fortune now if
who would buy that under those circumstances? Who bought that?
Probably just green space, just to leave it as green space. Is not
a government entity bought it, or
I honestly don't know. She didn't really relay. So and this is also something that's high on the farmers list, as well as many, many, many others. So what the public waters is public waters used to be defined as any navigable body of water. So you had to be able to navigate it, be it by boat or ship or something. Now they're saying all bodies of water, subsurface, above surface, puddles in your parking lot, pieces of your property, farmer's property that gets flooded only a certain time of the year. So if the government says, okay, that's now Corps of Engineers regulated, you cannot build within it, cannot build within 20 feet of it. It basically it's taking of your property rights. Even if you had water rights prior, now you're going to be subject to this. And so farmers are having a big, big issue with this. Ava Loken had a very big issue with this, because you couldn't have any clear legislation or clear determination that you needed to do these certain reports to be able to determine whether something was buildable, whether it fell under the regulations or whatnot. So they've been calling for some kind of definition for a very long time. And this is something that is still going on. this year, but they finally have temporarily frozen the EPA's rights to public waters on private property that are not navigable. So that's huge, 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 huge. Who knows when we'll get it actually sorted out, what kind of reports, but this affects you big time. If you go to list of property that backs to water, we have a lot of them because we're in a very, very wet state. Or if you have a buyer looking for raw land and it has water on it, okay? Sometimes you don't even know if the water runs underneath it, and that's going to be, so you've got some issues there. There are properties here on the hillside that have been sitting for a long time that had foundations started and have had a kibosh put on them, and they're just sitting, and people will call you off of them all day long because they're a great price. They've been sitting. Why? They got used. Da, da, da. Problem is, you go to try to pull a permit on that, and you're running into this issue where they're going to defer it to the Corps of Engineers. So the freeze on it right now is really, really great, so that it's not affecting people until they get there.
So Ava, if any of us were to list a property that's on a lake or with a stream in back, what would you recommend we do? Besides run.
I would recommend that you do due diligence first, or recommend that your buyer do due diligence. If the property is already existing, it's a lot easier. The problem really comes into play on raw land and anything that you're looking to build. Okay. So if you've got anybody looking to build or wanting raw land or large tracts, which happens a lot out in the valley, people that want these remote cabins and that sort of thing, it doesn't matter if there's not a muni or not, they're still subject to the Corps of Engineers. So I would say do your due diligence, make sure you get all of that stuff ahead of time before they close on that parcel, what they can and can't do with it. Make sure they have the seller go ahead and get a request into the Corps of Engineers so that you know what the standing ruling is when your client purchases it. And if there's a municipality or a borough involved, make sure that you've got those answers as well before you go ahead and list the property. And if you want further clarification, Ava Loken knows this really, really well in our Eagle River office and can give you additional guidance on anything that has water on it, because she's been highly dove into that one. So, and then there's some commercial stuff which none of us really deal with in this room unless you're doing commercial, which is across the hall. Does anybody have questions about what happened in 2015 and some of these great, awesome rules and things that have changed?
Could you give us like 3 examples
of questions
of examples of what happened in 20?
This whole list. Okay. Yeah, 2015.
I thought we were talking case history.
No, this is stuff that's going to affect us moving into 2016, and a lot of it is really, really great. Really great.
So, Ava, when we talked the other day, there's a lot of benefits we have, not just all the legislative benefits, but we can have group insurance, and
absolutely.
You want to talk about that a little bit? And
yeah, I wish I had that flyer. Kay and I weren't able to get connected, but you're more than welcome to call Kay Dubois over at the Anchorage Board of Realtors, and she can give you the package. But there's all sorts of things from auto discounts, insurance discounts, certain I think it's Jeep and Chrysler, they have discounts if you were to buy a car through the Board of basically with the Realtor membership. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits as far as that goes. You may not even know that you have access to that are related to your business tools. And hotel stays as well. They have discounted rates on certain hotel chains. So if you have to do travel and stuff like that for education or whatnot, that you can get discounted rates. So it's really beneficial.
Ava's the top producing realtors and she's a team leader. So she's a very busy individual, and I'm so grateful she does this. Is there anything that any of us should be doing, even minimal things that we should be doing that would help what you're doing?
Absolutely. There's a number of things, and you don't have to get into it at the level that I am into it for sure. But, every year we have an RPAC drive. Usually it's here in the atrium. I think the next year we're going to do it somewhere else just because it's grown and we're kind of outgrowing this space here. But getting involved in some of these drives. And that's a really fun event. Have any of you been to it before? What do you guys think of it? Tell us what you think of it.
What is it? Is it a fundraiser?
It is a fundraiser. So talk about it, Jocelyn, from your perspective.
Well, I think ever since Michael Draghi did a huge, just making it more lively, which was what, a couple of years ago? So they had like the gun wall, the wall gun, and you buy like raffle tickets, and then it's like every hour they get thrown away and they restart again, and it's not the cheap tickets either. And then you can pick your gun off the wall, or they do that with prize tables as well. I think I've seen people win barbecues, TVs. I don't know.
There's been TVs and barbecue grills and vacations and fishing trips and
always donate to fishing trips.
Yep.
Driving fishing for.
There was a wall of shoes last year from Shoesy Q, which was set up the same as the wall of guns, and that went over very well. So, it's a fun way of getting together. We usually have somebody who sponsors the food and somebody who sponsors the alcohol and that sort of thing. And people come in and they bid on different things. Most everything is donated. There is a few things that the board will go ahead and buy that are bigger ticket things to try to instigate the bidding and that sort of thing. But all of those proceeds go into your Realtor political action. So when you hear in sales meeting that we've got these events coming up, please donate and donate generously, whether you donate an item that can be auctioned off, if you have a particular, like a boat. Denny does his fishing trips every year because he has a boat and he likes to do that stuff. Ava Loken does her cabin every year because she has it, and she, it's something she's really not out. So if there's things like that you can think of in getting involved in a smaller level, it all goes to help all of us. Paying your dues is huge, and not having to have the Board of Realtors track you down to pay them and spending half of a year mailing and calling, that saves time and money too. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to get involved. You can be on a part of a committee versus being on the board. The board is a bigger commitment where it's 100% volunteer. You pay for your own travel, you pay for your own hotels. So we're doing a lot of things on our own dime to make sure that we can keep everybody else going. Lots of hours, but you guys.
Who else is on that in that group, Ava, besides you?
In the Anchorage Board of Realtors, this year, Mark Maisley is the president. Scott Myers is going to be president next year, so he's incoming president. There's myself, Ava Loken, Denny, what's her name in Girdwood? Erin, Annalisa Cooper, and the new manager over at Century 21. She came in from out of state, long curly hair. Michael Draghi's on it. So that's primarily it. Yeah.
Did y'all learn something today? I'm going to be real. Fortunately, I've already paid my dues, but I'm never going to blink again when I look at those. That's amazing.
It's a lot. And a couple other things, just really quick in closing, of upcoming activities that are coming up that benefit you. Tonight is the Young Professional Network. Know that this is not just for young professionals, it's for everybody. But it's a social mixer. Sometimes they have guest speakers, sometimes they do different things, but this is just a social mixer. So it's good to get to know people within your community and cross offices. And, there's going to be lenders there. There's going to be well and septic people, all sorts of people from all different industries. And it's a great way to make those connections, get to know people on first name basis, so that when you do have a problem with your property or, something that comes online, you've got that person right there in your book to kind of build your book. So anyway, that's tonight at Sub-Zero downtown. And the next thing that is going to be coming up right after that is the market forecast. Why would you go to a market forecast? Hello. Everybody always asks you. Exactly. Don't you want to know what the next retailer is that's coming in commercially? Don't you want to know what's going on housing wise? What happened in 2015? And Neil Freed will be there as the state economist, as well as we will have Michael Draghi, Lottie. Lottie does commercial real estate, so she'll be doing the commercial report. Michael Draghi will be doing the residential report. And then there's actually another day that's not the 20th, and I can't remember. Thank you, February 3rd. And Connie Oshimera will be doing the residential report for that. And Michael Draghi will be doing the commercial report for that one. So I would highly, highly recommend. This is also put on by the board to make sure that you are educated and know what's going on in your field and can answer those questions of how is the market without just saying good or bad. Actually be, more up to date. Yes.
I was wondering if spouses.
Yes.
For under 30.
Anybody can go. Anybody can go. It's there to try to boost the young folks, but they need to know us. They need to know.
They turn you away at the door.
They're not going to turn you away. They're not going to turn you away. You got to be under 40 to be on the board. This is my last year because I'm turning 40 this year. So finally get to take that hat off and move on to other stuff. But, it's to try to get some younger blood in here and trying to help them out. And they need to know the folks that have the experience under their belt. If they don't know you, they can't ask you questions. And a lot of companies are not structured like Jack White. They don't have the support that we do here. So it's a great opportunity to reach out and make sure that, all of us are getting the right leg up.
And it's okay to recruit, isn't
That's
it?
what I was thinking.
Is that?
You're not supposed to, but that doesn't mean you can't build relationships and do whatever you want to do. It's building relationships, right?
What's your average turnout now? I know when I was filming a year or two ago.
It was small, but
It was very tight. It was, we were at a table at,
we're averaging 30 to 50 people now,
That's
Adam.
amazing.
Yeah, we actually we had our last one, which was safety, right before the holidays. We usually don't have one in December for obvious reasons, so we didn't. But the last one that we had was we hosted it at Cabela's. It was the safety course, and the room was packed.
With a weapon.
She was good.
She was quick.
I was like, dang, okay.
What did
Yeah.
she do with the weapon?
It was all geared on safety, and she does safety training and correct how to carry firearms and how to do it safely and all of that kind of stuff. And the fact that you actually have to know how to use it and very easily, or else you're going to do harm to yourself. So anyway, we had a great presenter, and the room was packed. And yeah, I mean, we're averaging 30 to 50 people at every event. So it's really gotten some great traction. The other last event that I will give to you is also on the 20th. So if you end up going to the market luncheon at the Petroleum Club, then this is right directly after, unless you decide to go on the 3rd, then you're not conflicting. This is another really great way, as Kathy had mentioned, what do you do to kind of get in on a first time, like, oh, I want to test the waters and see what this is all about. These are both events that are great for doing that. But we will be doing candidate interviews where we invite candidates from both political parties to come in and interview to figure out who we're going to support. What are they going to vote on their property rights? What kinds of property right issues are we having in Anchorage? What kinds of things do we want to see our political people doing to try to improve the way we do business or the property stuff? And so that's going to, and it is really interesting to see these people answer these questions. It really gives you a true insight to their personalities, to whether you really want to vote for them or not. It's highly entertaining.
Issues coming up is whether or not the state is willing to give up some state land
Yes,
in order to have some more
yes.
development.
We have that in this year because the state is in such a deficit. We have income taxes also on everybody's mind because they're talking about income tax, they're talking about sales tax. So those are going to be some issues. It'll be really interesting to see how these people are planning on voting. So I encourage you to come in and sit and listen and kind of observe. This is it's amazing how many people don't show up to this and really should, because you need to be educated. And it's good for you to know, because when you go and talk to your buyers and sellers, I'm involved in all of this stuff. And I think, honestly, the more you get involved, the busier your business gets.
Why
Because
is that, Ava?
knowledge is power. I can go ahead and roll things off the tip of my tongue because I have that knowledge, where someone else will just be like, oh yeah, the market's good or it's bad. Or, yeah, I heard about layoffs. They don't have any data. They don't have any real information.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. And if you don't have it, it's really, really tough to capture the type of business that you need. And business is getting tougher to do. So you got to be knowledgeable.
People know if you're going small.
They sure do. They sure do. And I can tell you that a lot of other people at a lot of other companies don't know. So it's refreshing when they come across somebody who does. And then they're like, it'll seal that connection with them very, very quickly.
So, great. Anything else we need to know, Ava?
Be involved.
Thank you
Be
so
involved.
much. Thanks, Ava.
Thank you.
See you all next Tuesday. I'm going to make some more calls.
This thing.
So are you?
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I think so. I just turned it off. So.
Yeah.